Hi, YouTube. I'm just setting up with TikTok here. Okay. YouTube, you're only going to see the side of my head because my audience is on TikTok. I think I've got about 1,300 followers on YouTube now. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Brooke. Brooke, you've been here before, haven't you? Anyway, while we're waiting, I'd love to hear where you're from, and also I'd love to know if you're new. So if you could just type in new if you're new, I'd appreciate that. I'll have to keep saying that because people keep turning up, and I don't know why. One person turns up, and I do all my announcements to one person. I'm not very good at this. Anyway, okay, so where are you from? What part of the world? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and always fascinated to hear where you're from. I'm very tired. I often have split sleeps. I'll wake up at 3 and then I'll go back to sleep at around 5 for an hour or two. I never got back to sleep, so I'm a little. That's evidently very common to get. It's called insomnia, and you usually wake up around 3. That's the end of your first set, the first heavy sleep. Then some people just sleep right through. But yeah, I've been up since 3. It's frustrating. Lethbridge, Alberta. Oh, okay. I don't think I've been there. Alberta, for anyone who doesn't know, I'm in British Columbia. Alberta is the next province over, so we're neighbors. Napa Valley, California. Hello, York, England. Hello, York, England. So where are you from? Ohio. Hi. Ohio. I'm just asking people where they're from. Kentucky. Excellent. Again, I'm in Vancouver. My second home was I lived in Australia for many years. That's where my kids were born and raised. So I'm just as at home in Australia as I am in Canada. But I live in Canada now. Massachusetts, Romania, West Clare in Ireland, Wisconsin, Corning. Is that what that is? I don't see all that well. Is that Corning? Okay, New York. Charleston, South Carolina. That just sounds cool. I love Southern accents. 2 hours south of Calgary. Okay, so I wouldn't have been there. I've been in Calgary. I've spent a summer or two there, or a couple of weeks in summer there a couple times. Saudi Arabia. Hello. You've been here before. Noura Malik, I think. I'm starting to recognize the names. Okay. Okay, I guess I'll get going now. I got enough people to get going. So if you go on the link above, that is Noura Malik. Yeah, excellent. If you go on the link above, everything I have to offer is up there. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on that too. That's what makes it work, because you show your kids you're accountable too. You got to give respect to get it. I never expect to get anything for free. I think I got to put in the work. I got to pay for things. I got to earn them. So I think you got to earn respect with your kids too. Yeah, I live in Canada. I'm here in Vancouver. Okay. I'm very excited. I got a very big year this year. My daughter's getting married on Saturday, and my son's expecting a baby in a few months. Well, his partner is. So yeah, it's a big year, a wedding and a baby. So I'm very excited about that. My kids keep waterlogging my toilet paper. Well, okay. If they're under 3, they shouldn't have access to it. And if they're 3 and over, I would have a consequence for that. So every time they do, there's a consequence. They have to clean something or whatever. So yeah, check out my behavior board, and it might give you some ideas. Congratulations. Thanks very much. We're not wedding people, my daughter and I, so they were just going to elope, but then they decided to have the 2 sets of parents. So it'll just be his parents and then my ex and I. So we all get along great. It'll just be really sweet. But yeah, they were just going to elope. And I was fine either way. I'm not a wedding person at all. So yeah, whatever. I made her wedding dress though. I was very happy about that. Okay, which is very simple. Make a scene of everything does it. Okay. Oh, you're asking about a 1-year-old? Okay, toddlers don't make any sense. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. Just ignore the crazy, and they'll just sort of detour to other things. They go through stage after stage after stage. You're going crazy? Yeah, because they are crazy. They just are. Toddlers are crazy. I've got 5 steps to making your life easier with toddlers. I'll read them out. I already did a video on this. I've done a few recently. The reason why I've done so many toddler videos lately and tantrum videos, that's what people want to hear. Someone actually said to me, why do you keep avoiding the ignoring tantrum? You're ignoring the ignoring tantrums videos. That's what people want. So yeah, I was kind of telling them, I was trying to tell you what I think you need to hear, but I'm going to start telling you what you want to hear. Coaching is what you need to hear. That's different. Okay, so the 5 steps to making your life easier with a toddler is number 1, child-proof your whole house. Number 2 is have a toy rotation system. By the way, child-proof the whole house so you never have to say no. And then the second one is toy rotation system so they never get bored. The third one is play in their world. Like the more you get down on their level and play like a toddler, find your inner toddler, they just start connecting with you differently. They look at you differently. They're watching you more. You're more relatable. So you're sort of setting yourself up as a leader by getting down on the ground, if it makes any sense. Stop trying to figure them out. They don't make any sense. They're brand new, fresh human beings. Imagine if you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for one of those years, you were a potato laying on a mattress. They have no sense because they have no context of the world. They have no experience yet. Okay, and then stop talking to them. These mini therapy sessions with toddlers, they are garbage. They are just for you. They are not for your toddler. No, you know they shouldn't have done that. That hurts my feelings. Oh my God, they're just useless. Toddlers are all about consistent, corrective actions. They are about actions, not words, because they learn through repetition and they only learn through actions. Words are useless. I know it's trendy right now, these mini therapy sessions. I get it, it's trendy, but it's just garbage. Okay. Not that I'm opinionated. Okay, should there be a consequence for my 3-year-old talking back? Nope. Nope, there shouldn't. You just ignore attitude. If they are rude or something, you just go, just ignore it. It just says they don't respect you. It's a tell. Bad attitude, sassiness, cheekiness, that is a tell. It means you're not a leader. So work on yourself. That's an indication to you, hey, I got to work on my leadership skills. They don't back talk leaders. They just don't. It just doesn't happen. Okay, thank you. I think people think they know how to talk to babies. What they do is whenever they do these mini therapy sessions, they think that they're helping their child self-regulate. No, it's really common right now. This is all what parents tell me is happening out there. And sometimes I'll read the comments. Most of them are just people attacking me, and that's fine. The more people attack me, the more of a difference I'm making. So, I love that stuff. So anyway, but yeah, if you really want to relate to a toddler, relate in a way they understand. You find your inner toddler. Don't expect them to find their inner adult, which is what you're doing. It's very condescending and patronizing. Use your words. What a horrible thing to say to a little one. Use your words. Throwing stuff, smearing poop on the wall, that is their words. That is how they communicate. It's so patronizing, all this stuff out right now. It backfires big time down the road, by the way. I get those clients later on. I'd rather not. I'd rather prevent all that stuff in the first place. Okay. Oops. Okay. Okay. My almost 3-year-old gets mad when I tell him what to do and yells, "You're not the boss, I'm the boss." You yell at him, don't you? Yeah. He's mimicking you. He's mimicking you. It's learned behavior. That stuff is learned behavior. So he's just doing what you do. He doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. That's all I teach here. I have a full course on how to be a leader if you're interested, for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can hire me or just keep watching. But yeah, it's just a tell. Oh, you're asking, how do I help my parents? I can't help you with that. I teach parenting. I can't tell you how to tell your parents what to do. Yeah. So many people stitch your videos mortified. What does that mean? Should I have read that? Sometimes I'll read stuff and it's rude, but I don't even know it. What does that mean, stitch your videos? What's that word stitch mean? Stitch. Slang meaning. I'm just looking it up. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I get a lot of hate on here. And I love that because people don't realize this. I know I'm making a difference. The more people that come after me with a vengeance, the more I'm getting under their skin. And they're going to think, sometimes some of those people have actually turned into clients and they've owned it. They've said, I was the one who said such and such about you when you first came on here. So yeah, it's okay. It doesn't bother me at all. If you let strangers get under your skin and bother you, you don't. Like if a stranger is nasty to me, I don't care what they say. It means nothing to me. A stranger's opinion of me means nothing. My loved ones, they could look at me the wrong way and I'd turn into a puddle. So yeah, be careful where you put your feelings. Be careful who you hand your emotions and feelings over to. Okay. Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. That's why I've never been bullied. Um, it doesn't bother me. Yeah, if a loved one looked at me the wrong way, what did I do? So yeah, be careful where you hand over your feelings. Too many people are too vulnerable online, and I never understand that. These are strangers out there. They don't mean anything to you. Why let them get under? So because I deal with a lot of bullying, online bullying stuff with parents of teenagers and that. And so we have to go through all this. How do you explain? Don't care what strangers think. You don't even know them. Who knows what garbage they're going through? They're probably damaged, right? So yeah. Okay. Best way to deal with 3-year-old hitting people. We don't hit at all. Yeah, hitting is just okay. If they hit, I actually have a whole course on that, and it's toddlers who hit. I know I always say toddlers are under 3, but it includes 3-year-olds in there too. For that particular course I have, not video, course I have on that. It's just one of my little mini courses. It goes into that in great detail. It's different if they're hitting during a tantrum. That is a different course. I have tantrum busting course and toddlers who hit. They're different. If they just hit for the sake of hitting, that's that course. Anyway, it's just have it on. If they're 3 and over, you can put it on the behavior board. But yeah, they're going to hit. There has to be a consequence every single time. If you let one hit go, you're condoning it. Well, you're asking me a question I can't answer. Why does my son sleep with in minutes with his dad screams for me? I don't know. How would I know that? I don't know what kind of parent the dad is and what kind of parent you are. I can't possibly answer that. If you want me to assess the situation, I can tell you pretty quickly. But that's coaching, one-on-one coaching if you're interested. Okay. Oh, Stitch equals video. Does it? Oh, I get a whole bunch of stuff on here. Yeah. People send me stuff. I don't look at, I don't know what I've never looked at anyone else on here. Yeah. Um, when I first came on here, I first came on TikTok a year and a half ago, and I blew up overnight, like just a fluke, right? Just blew up. But what people didn't realize, my competition, this is what other people have told me, my competition came after me big time, and they were doing duet videos insulting me, and they grew my channel for me. So, I'm eternally grateful to them. They're the one who blew up my channel, and they didn't. I don't want to say what I was thinking, but yeah, it's like, thanks. And if you're in the caring field and you're being nasty towards other people, I just find that it's so ironic. Like they just don't get it. But anyway, so yeah, it was wonderful. I loved it. And the only reason I'm talking about that now is they don't do that much anymore, and I miss it. Like literally, if I had a day where I got 50,000 new followers, I knew right away. If I went in my activities thing and looked it up, someone had a big competition person had done a duet with me insulting me. It was fantastic. I love all that. I love psychology. I love all that stuff. I love karma. I love it. When you go out to be nasty to someone and they end up getting rewarded for it, you know what I mean? Like it bites you in the butt. I just love karma. I get really excited by sweet justice and all that kind of stuff. Because I believe in that. I think you get back what you put out. It might not be right away, but eventually I really believe, Okay. Oh, I'm sure some of them are nice too. I don't look at any of them, but thanks very much for that. It just got me on a conversation about that stuff, how my competition grew my channel. I just love that stuff. Oh, it makes me laugh. Okay. And there's lots of people who hate me and hate them. Not everybody is for everybody. Like if I resonate with you, then follow me. If I don't resonate with you, follow someone else. We all need to be with someone that makes sense to us. You don't necessarily have to like the person, but if they're making sense, then follow them. Parenting is heavily experience-based. That's why so many of my clients are teachers, principals, school counselors, child psychologists. They're heavily trained with children, but parenting is different. That's my lane. That's my specialty. I've raised, you have to take advice from someone who's finish the job. They have to have lived with teenagers and finished the job. Otherwise, how could you teach parenting? How do you know if what you're doing when they're 5 is going to not backfire when they're 15? How do you know? You don't have no idea what you're doing until you finish the job. That's one criteria. The second one is they have to have had tons of experience with hundreds of other kids. I didn't learn much with my own kids. I got respect when they were tiny and sailed right through the teen years. What could I teach? How could I teach with that lack of knowledge? You know what I mean? Like, here's how you get respect when they're 2 or 3 and then sail through the teen years. That's ridiculous. So yeah, those are 2 criteria, whether it's me or someone else. Make sure that they have finished the job with their own kids and they're experienced with hundreds of other kids with all sorts of challenges. Otherwise, I wouldn't give them the time of day because it is heavily experience-based. It just is. It would be like taking financial advice from someone with $10 in the bank as opposed to $1 billion in the bank. What makes more sense to you, right? This is experience-based. So yeah, the stuff that I have to correct, that, you know, when I get coaching clients, it just frustrates the heck out of me. Because this is serious business. If you don't know what you're doing, don't teach it. Like, unless you're heavily experience-based, do not teach this. Oh, you're asking my advice on PDA behavior, pathological demand avoidance? I don't talk like that. I don't really know what you're referring to. I do, but I don't talk. I don't address that. Okay. How long does a normal tantrum last? Well, no tantrum is normal. It can be 20 seconds to 5 hours. The longest I ever heard of was literally 4 or 5 hours. It was a client of mine, and this was a full-blown, all-out tantrum. It was an older child who was used to tantrums always working. In other words, the parents always ended up giving in. So I told the parents to buckle up. They're going to have to go through hours of a nightmare. This kid was throwing up, just about passing out. The parent, I said, you cannot give in, okay? And the child never had another tantrum. It was one hell of an ugly tantrum, though. So yeah, there is no normal for tantrums, because tantrums aren't normal. They're common, but they're like so weird. They're crazy, right? How about dating kids and parent getting used to that? Ooh, yeah, I went through all that. Whew. I remember I did an interview. I used to do a lot of TV, the morning shows, and they call in the expert, right? They just got a spot to fill, so they call me in. So anyway, one of them was, at what age should teenagers have sex? So I said, well, what I told my kids was when they're 40, because hopefully I'll be dead by then. I won't go into it here, but in coaching, that stuff comes up a lot. It's very dependent upon the age of the child, the maturity level, who they're with. It's awkward. It's not something I'm really comfortable discussing on TikTok because I get kids turning up on here. Yes, everyone knows everything now. And you know what? If you've got a couple little kids and everything's going great, a lot of parents, and this is what clients have said, well, they've got the most beautiful family. Those are kids who don't have tantrums, or if they do, they're not real tantrums. And they're just, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just sort of, look at me, everything's going great. But it's not like that heavily. I've been studying this for 51 years. I've started volunteering in daycare centers when I was 11 years old. Like, who does that? I was always obsessed with figuring kids out. And I got great results. I was always the popular babysitter. Everyone wanted I wanted to get Lisa. It was fun. But I didn't take any crap either. I knew how to balance fun and discipline at the same time. From the time I was 11, I was good at it. So, and then I just honed my skill with troubled teens and all that, and, worked with handicapped children and all sorts of stuff. And learned, I just was obsessed with figuring kids out. That's all. I just found them fascinating because they are the best of us. We get all sorts of problems as we start to age. And our personality is so based on our own personal experiences. We're not fresh anymore. We've got baggage, and, we're just sort of almost damaged goods as you get older and older. Kids aren't. They're the best of us. If you watch them, you're going to learn more about yourself than anything else. But anyway. Okay. Okay, a child that curses at their parents, if they're 3 years old and over, which usually that age, that usually starts around then. So if they're 3 years old and over, put it on the board and say no naughty words or no bad words. And then there's a consequence when they do. The worst thing you can do is react. The worst thing you react by say, okay, well, you don't do that. The worst thing you can do is say, don't do that, because they're in charge. They know when they get under your skin, they know they're the leader. This is I was a crazy mother for sure. I was nuts. I still am. I've got a real goofy side to me that I don't show to very many people, but I'm really not just goofy. And that's what I show that to kids. I'm very silly and goofy, but if they ever step out of line, it's all business. That's why I call calm leadership. I'm all business. It's a business transaction. Like when I was working with kids, and if they'd acted out, and I said, didn't like that. Here's what we're going to do. So I became very quiet, and they'd get like all, kind of almost embarrassed because they want to please you. When you're a good leader, they want to please you. So yeah, have a consequence. We all learn through consequences. That's how we learn to pay our rent, because otherwise we lose our home. That's why we learn to not go like 200 miles an hour down the freeway, even if you had a car that could, because we'll probably get a ticket. We live through consequences. So why wouldn't you raise your kids to teach them that? Teach them about the world by having consequences for them. Make them accountable. I used to tell my kids from a really young age, everything's your choice. If you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that, because that's my job. So I made sure that they were accountable. I have a whole bunch of consequences ideas in my behavior board. It's free up above in the link, Bratbusters link. Okay. Consequences for 11-year-old. I don't know what they've done. I like to have the punishment fit the crime. It could just be helping with chores. We always have 2 consequences for kids. The first one is a positive action. Get them to do something like a chore. If they won't do that, say fine, 24-hour media blackout. You resort to the negative deprivation. You can always take something away, but you can't always make them do something. But you always try to get them to do something first. Thoughts on timeout? Hi, Casey, you must be new here. I hate timeout. Comes out every single live that comes up. A few things are consistent in all my lives. That's one of them. I hate timeout. I think it's patronizing, mean, humiliating, condescending. So you go over there, you're not even worth talking to. You go and sit in the corner, nose to wall. Could you imagine if your boss did that to you because you made a mistake at work? It's humiliating. It feels the exact same for children. I've never done it, never taught it, never will. So yeah. Yeah, you are new. Yeah, that comes up all the time. I'm very opinionated on timeout because it's so common. There's 3 things that are really common that I hate. I absolutely hate. Timeout's the least of the ones that I hate. The one I hate more than timeout is distraction. Is when they're doing something bad and you offer, here's some candy, right? You offer them a reward to stop doing something bad. Okay, that's not incentive. That's bribery. There's a difference. Incentive is when you say, hey, I'll tell you what, as soon as we finish cleaning up the house, we'll go to the park. That's incentive. But when they're doing something bad, and in order to stop them, you offer them something like a treat. That's a really bad thing to do. No one ever distracts with broccoli. Here's some broccoli. It's always something fun, right? So yeah, distraction. So timeout is number 3. Distraction is number 2. My number 1 common discipline method that I absolutely loathe, and you all know it's bad, but a lot of people still do it. It's the countdown method. They're doing something bad and you say, I'm going to count to 3 and you better stop. This is how you sound to them. 1, 2, 2.5, 3. It's just such a weak place to come from. You sound like a loser, like it's just awful. Plus, what you're saying to them is you can keep pounding your little brother for 3 counts. It's okay in the short term, but just not in the long term. Also, when it's done, they've just hit their brother 20 times, and then you get to 3 and they stop. Where's the consequence? Where's the punishment for what they did? Where's the punishment for the crime? There is none. It's a fear-based consequence. That's all that is. It's your fear, your fear. That's why you count, because you don't really want to discipline them. You don't know what to do, so you just start counting. Hate that one. So those are the 3. There's a whole bunch of stuff I don't like, but those are the 3 really common discipline methods. And if other people are teaching them, some people say, what about so-and-so? I don't know who else is out there. I stay in my lane. Kids have taught me all this. I'm experience-based. I've never looked at what anyone else is doing out there. I have no idea. Why would I? Who's going to be more experienced than me anyway? Like, I've been doing this for 51 years. So who's going to, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't make any sense for me to look at anyone else. Plus, kids have taught me this. If I haven't learned it from a kid, I ain't going to listen to it. Doesn't make any sense at all to me. So because I am kid-based, kid-taught. Kids and teenagers taught me all this. It was teenagers who said, Lisa, you have to teach this stuff, because no one had ever talked to them the way I did. So they're the ones who told me to go into business. It was the teenagers. Okay. What are some ways to teach good problem-solving skills? This is what I call silent listening, or I have a better name for it. That's so politically correct, and that's not my style. I'm not politically correct. It's called silent listening, or this is more me. Open your ears and shut your mouth, or listen then shut up. What I mean by that is if a kid tells you a problem, like this would have been my mom. I would have gone to her and said, and this is when I was tiny, I would have, Mommy, someone said something to me. What should I do? And she used to say the exact same thing. I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd start talking about it. She never really told me what to do. She just made me come up with my own ideas. she'd feed me stuff when I was little, sort of feed it in there. But then she goes, that was so clever that you figured that out. And I'm like, she probably had told me what to do, but I didn't know it. So I grew up thinking I was solving all my own problems. I did the same thing with my kids. Mom, so-and-so did this or that. What should I do? I don't know. Let's figure it out. What do you think you should do? And they'd come up with ideas. I'd come up with ideas. So you see, I never problem solved for them. I just didn't do it. I never told my kids what to do. I just didn't. It's like, yeah, that's a problem. All right. What are you going to do about it? I don't know. I was thinking, yeah, that's a good idea. Or I might do this, but maybe somewhere in the middle, there's a great idea in there. You see, you talk everything through, build them up. My style of parenting, I call it leadership or calm leadership parenting. The whole goal is not to make them feel good about you, which it happens, but the goal is to make them feel good about themselves. When you raise kids with confidence, high self-esteem, and they're really well behaved, they're just proud of themselves, and you're the source of that, how do you think they're going to treat you? Like gold, right? They're going to try and please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just don't want to disappoint you because you want them to be their own leaders. Things shift in the teen years. You start to hand over a lot. You don't sweat the small stuff, save your energy for the big stuff. You negotiate everything, blah, blah, blah. Teenagers are different. But anyway, so that's how you raise problem solvers. You don't tell them what to do. I used to often beg my mom, Mom, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Well, figure it out. And then we'd be taught, and then I'd say, well, what about this? And she goes, yeah, that's an idea. I remember I had something like that, and I did this. Oh, that's a good idea too, Mom. And then she just would never tell me what to do, almost to an annoying point. My mom did not want to tell anyone what to do. It wasn't her style. She's like, you figure it out. But I did. I was a very confident kid, and so was my brother. We can walk in anywhere and talk to anyone, very confident. That's my mom. She gave us that. Younger years are for parenting and teenage years are for guiding. I think it's still parenting. I'm still a parent. Like I've never told my kids what to do ever. So they're 33 and 28. I'm still mom before I'm anything. But we're like, my daughter and I are best friends. We see each other every day. We live nearby. So yeah. The difference is when they're little, you discipline them to get respect. So you're teaching them how to be self-disciplined. By the time they're teenagers, they kind of are. So you're just there as a safe place to land. That's it. They're going to tell you everything. When you get good at this silent listening, when you get good at this, you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. Like they'll tell you everything. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. They already know what you're going to say anyway. So 2-year-old throws herself down when upset. Yep, sounds normal to me for a toddler. Absolutely. You said my kids were self-raising children. They only wanted me at night or cuddles. Yeah, I mean, that's the more independence. I would say I was more like that. My kids weren't. My kids, we were all over each other all the time. Very, very demonstrative, all over each other, especially my daughter. And my son and we had humor. We were always playing pranks. Or I used to hide under the bed and grab his ankles and scare the bejeebies out of him. He said he was terrified to go near the pantry if he didn't know where I was. I would hide in there for a whole hour just waiting for him to come. But I didn't do that to my daughter because she didn't like it. But my son and I had that. And then when he got older, of course, that backfired on me because he got really good at that stuff. So I paid for it. I couldn't complain. How could I complain about it? Because I tortured him when he was growing up. And then when he was a teenager, payback. He still has something he can do. He's 33. There's something he can still even talk about doing it to me. And it freaks me out. It's just a horrible thing that just gives me the heebies. But yeah, so I paid for that. Anyway, yeah. You said, this is a really good point. You said, this doesn't work for all cultures, but there are some good points here. It's very true. A lot of my clients are from overseas, Asian especially. There's a very different dynamic in the family in that the dad often is the head of the family. The mom is almost subservient to the dad in a lot of religions. I have to take that into account and work with it. I've learned over the years how to do that because I say, okay, here's what I do over here in Canada and the US and in Australia. This is what we all do. And England and, most, like a lot of countries that usually hire me, but some countries hire me, they have very strict religious views, and they have multi-family, multi-generation families living in one house. I have to work with all that. So yeah, it's quite challenging, but yeah, you're absolutely right. Some stuff doesn't work. What's a common one that doesn't work? And oh, it's the fact that a lot of times the father will not go on the behavior board, will not do it, and said it's just against our culture. We just wouldn't do that. And I say, fine, okay. So we'll have to have a way to work him in other ways. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I have to take that into account. I'm not an idiot. I don't think that my way is the only way all across the world. And I'm not saying you're saying I do, but I really respect other cultures because they've been working probably a lot longer than we have here in North America. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're kind of new. So, but yeah, I've learned a lot about different cultures just from my business. I love it. Why does my daughter throw fits when we're out with the whole family, but just her and I? Okay, just a sec. Why? Okay, I know why. Your daughter throws fits when you're out with everybody else because you're a different parent. That's why you're not consistent. That's what that tells me. She knows she can get away with stuff when she's out around other people. That's probably why. That's a tell. But it might not be, but that's the most common reason for that. Okay. Well, 2-year-olds. I got tons of videos on 2-year-olds. They're just crazy. I have a whole bunch of courses on 2-year-olds, mini courses on them. But yeah, they're just forming. Don't try and make sense out of them. I'll go through those five ways to make life easier with a toddler. I'll go through them again. I've done a video on it, but I'll just read it out because oh, come on. Everything's really slow, and I've got YouTube filming here. Okay, 5 tips for raising toddlers. 1, child-proof your whole house so you never have to say no. 2, have a toy rotation system so they're never bored. 3, when you play with them, enter their world. Do not expect them to find their inner adult and go to the nail salon with you. You get down on the ground, right eye level or lower, and play with them. They're going to look at you differently. That's sort of the start of leadership because they're connecting with you in a different level. 4, stop trying to figure them out. They're just toddlers. They don't make any sense. They haven't formed common sense yet because they have no context of the world. And then 5, stop doing the mini therapy sessions. They're all about actions. They're not about words. Let's talk about your feelings. That's just garbage. That's for you. It's not for your toddler. They're about consistent corrective actions. Whenever they do something bad, it's a consistent corrective action that works because they learn through repetition. It won't work the first time, probably not the 50th, maybe the 100th time, but they will eventually learn. But that's how it's done. That's the best way to handle toddlers. It's just riding it out. They're cute as a button, but they're all feet, no brains, right? They haven't developed all that common sense. They don't understand concussions. That's why they throw themselves on the ground and bang their heads. They don't understand damaging people's skin and all that. That's why they bite. They just don't get it. The physical stuff is their language. That is their words. That's why consistent corrective actions, not words. Oh, okay, ignoring tantrums. I've got a couple of videos. I've got millions of videos on that. But while they're having a tantrum, I would be doing something like this. You never leave the room. You don't talk on the phone. You don't talk to other people. That's dismissive and rude. I want my kid to know that I am purposely ignoring what they're doing, and I know what they're doing. So this would be me. No eye contact, no talking to them. I might be filing my nails just like this. It's like I'm just waiting. It's like I'm in a lineup. Waiting. Soon as they calm down, oh, you all done? You want to go to the park? See, I ignore the crazy, I reward the calm. They eventually start to leave the crazy and lean into the calm. They just do. They just get it. And the reason I know this is I've worked with hundreds of kids. Plus, I know with my son, he had tantrums. My daughter never did. They're either born to have them or they aren't. And his tantrums would last a lot longer with dad, who would talk to him. He was the pleaser parent. I was the leader for sure. So, but yeah, with me, they didn't last as long and they weren't as frequent. And they just eventually ended with both of us, with everybody. They just ended because they weren't working. And yeah, you only need one leader in the family. My mom was the leader. My dad was the pleaser. But the pleaser should always direct everything to the leader. Like, what I mean is, if there's something that they don't know what to do, say, let's go ask your mom. Like, if my dad had said that, I would have said, never mind. Same with my kids. If they'd asked their dad something and they knew that I would have said no, if he said, let's go ask your mom, they'd go, never mind. So yeah, they only need one leader, and it's kind of nice. There's that yin and yang, or whatever you call it. Blah, blah, blah. You said my son won't stop talking back. What is he, 16? 6? I need an age there. Well, you're asking about how to handle a 2-year-old that won't sit. Well, that's a 2-year-old. That's all normal stuff. You can't train a 2-year-old to do something. You just can't. Like if I had a toddler that wouldn't sit, I would be walking around the field. Do you know what I mean? Like you gotta meet their needs and manage their wants. Toddlers cannot sit and look at a game. Your expectations are out of whack. Don't try and be reasonable. Like don't expect them to be able to sit and watch a boring game. Like to them, it's just brutal. It's torture. Right? So yeah, I would be getting up. Well, we used to take turns. If our son was playing a game, we had a toddler with us. We'd take turns walking her around. There's usually a park somewhere nearby, a field. Anyway, the 6-year-olds talking back, work on your leadership skills because their behavior, what they say and what they do, and when they're young especially, is all on you. It's a reflection of your parenting. So whenever they're being cheeky to you, that's on you. So say, okay, I got to work on myself here. Whenever I was mentoring kids, especially the troubled teens, if they ever acted out or did anything, I always blamed myself. I always thought, what am I doing wrong here? Because I'm the leader. A leader does not blame the one they're leading. They blame themselves. That's what a leader does. A leader takes full responsibility. So if your kids are acting out, that's on you. So work on yourself. Work on yourself, your leadership skills. That's all it is. When you're a good leader, they just bend over backwards trying to please you. I can't even sit and watch a game. Yeah, a 2-year-old watching a game. Are you kidding me? It's like, what do I do? My 2-year-old won't sit during church. I'm like, why would they? Trendy therapy sessions. Those therapy sessions discussing all the big feelings, talking about toddlers self-regulating their feelings. It's super trendy right now. It's just garbage. It's absolute crap. I have to erase all that damage from clients that come to me and they've been doing all that stuff. So they're trying to get their kids to find their inner adults. They're talking to them like they're 30 years old. It's ridiculous. It's patronizing. And it's ineffective and it backfires. They're going to wipe their feet all over you. That's what I often talk about, the two very distinct parenting styles. One's the authority. That's a one-way street. My way or the highway. You do what I say because I'm your parent. And they tend to raise teenagers who rebel, but come out the other end pretty strong and appreciate what their parents did for them. The pleaser parent style, which has been in style now for about 30 years, it's based on mom guilt. That's where that came about. You don't want the whole history on it. I've been studying this forever. Anyway, that's a one-way street too. The kids are in charge. So the other one, the authority's in charge, the authority parent's in charge, and they're the one-way street. This is the kids are in charge. They wipe their feet all over their parents who are giving them participation awards, rolling out the red carpet, going in and confronting anyone who looked at their precious angel the wrong way. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. They never appreciate you. They turn out weak and then they wipe their feet all over you. And they never appreciate what you did because you weren't doing anything. You were just giving in to them. You weren't parenting them. So that's what's really trendy right now. I'm exaggerating. Yes, I'm exaggerating. But I don't do either one of those. I do leadership parenting, and you're giving respect to get it. I'm accountable too, by the way. If I messed up, my kids loved it. If I messed up, they looked at each other instantly like this because they knew that they'd just say, Mom, don't you think you're a little bit hard on us? Yeah. What do you want? So let's say we want to go to the water slide park after school. We lived in Brisbane, which is like the subtropics. It was super hot. So the water slide park was a big deal. That's why we put a pool in the backyard so I didn't have to keep doing that. We had a water slide park right down the road. Okay. Okay. Is it important for toddlers to spend time away from their parents? My husband and I don't agree. I don't think it matters either way. I don't think it's nothing to argue about because I don't think it matters. Like I've never seen any studies or I've never experienced any situation where parents who were always with their toddlers had any good or bad effect or vice versa. So I don't think it makes any difference. I don't have an opinion on this, Aubrey. How do you think electronics affect young kids today? Well, I think it's just part of life. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 screens going, and I often have a fifth here too. So I mean, I was gonna say, if you think I'm messed up, maybe then you can do it. But yeah, I don't think it's a big deal. I think it's like with anything, moderation is the key, right? I don't follow that rule, but I'm 62 years old. I can do whatever I want. But yeah, I did have some, caps with my kids. And my son was a teenager. He was obsessed with video games, but I realized that was his relaxation. That was his thing. So I gave in a lot more than I would have liked to. But then he's 33 years old and he's a gamer now. So it's not what he does for a living, but he's hardcore gamer. So he loved it and that's his thing. Yeah. So I think it's what they're doing on it. Like I didn't allow violent games. I think that's more important too. I do cap it. Like when they were growing up, I certainly was very fussy about how much time they spent. I wanted them outside playing more and all that stuff. But yeah, I'd be very careful what they're doing when they're gaming. 62, I never would have guessed it. Oh, thanks so much. I'm a gluten-free health food vegan, and I'm at the gym every morning early, working out my muscles. But I'm 62 now, and I have to ask for help with the big plates, the big 45-pound plates. Do you know how humiliating that is? Because I just can't. I've got a bad back. I just can't. There's certain things that my age is very apparent now, and I'm fine with that. My mom used to say it's better than the alternative, which would be in the grave, right? You're either getting old or you're getting dead. So, but anyway, yeah. Thanks for the compliment. I appreciate that. Okay. Um, Okay. My oldest is amazing. My 6-year-old son is the angry child and is so different and it's too much. Yeah. That happens a lot. Whenever I get hired, I almost always say, if they have 3 or so kids, I always say, which one's the target? There's usually a target. Like there's one kid that's really a problem. And I say, we can't put a bullseye on their forehead. We can't make it obvious which one, but we have to be very subtle about how we, set up systems within the family so that that kid doesn't realize they're the target. But there usually is one. And it's not always that they're more difficult. It's just they don't suit your personality as much. You don't understand them as well. That's more often the way that what happens. Because I've never worked with an easy kid. I've always worked with feisty kids. No one has ever said to me, here, Lisa, here's an easy one. They always go, here, Lisa, good luck with this one. So I've only worked with feisty kids. But leadership doesn't matter if they're feisty or not. You can still get that mutual respect because you're giving respect to get it. That's what I teach. It's got to be give and take. And you got to give before you get. Everyone wants to get, the parents. But I say, no, you got to give first. You got to show them how it's done, especially with teenagers. It's a lot of give, take, give, take. And then parents say, well, where's the justice with teenagers? And I say, when they have their own teenagers, you can just sit back and watch the show. And when they say, oh, my teenagers drive me nuts, you mean like you did? Remember the time you did this? Remember the time you did that? That's the payback. You just want to live long enough to see that. Okay. I'll tell you why I'm so confident about what I teach. Because I have fun with my kids. And they were good as gold. I mean, literally, they were so respectful, but they weren't obedient little soldiers. They had voices, believe me. I heard their opinions all the time. And that because I encouraged that. So, but we had fun. Parenting was the most fun I ever had. It was a blast. And then every year I'd get handwritten notes from principals. If all the kids were as nice as your kids, school would be a dream. So, it was just lovely. It works. It just works. Um, yeah. But I'm sure it's not the only way, but my way, I know it works because I've practiced it. And plus I've worked with hundreds of kids and I've always been able to get respect, that mutual respect going. So it just works. Have you worked with twins? Yeah, tons of them, and triplets too. I got some government clearance and training in this program to go in and support parents who were struggling at home. And they were triplets that I worked with. And the mom, she had the best system. She was so organized. She had an older child too. And then these triplets. And she had like whiteboards, every single poop and pee and sleep and bath and everything was written down there. The time they went to sleep, she was so organized. It was very impressive. So yeah, be organized. Does your son's gaming affect relationships to be able to spend time with a significant? Okay, I don't discuss my adult kids because they don't choose to be on here. You'd have to search him out and ask him. So yeah, I just don't discuss that stuff. Uh, My daughter and I often laugh. I don't really have a filtering system, but I am like I don't discuss my own personal life or my kids' personal lives. I just don't. You know what I mean? Like nothing that I wouldn't want in the front page of the paper. Not that anyone would be interested. But my daughter and I always laugh when I'm doing a live. I just feel like you're friends when I'm talking here. So this is when all this stuff comes out. Just everything about everybody just comes out because I don't tend to have a filtering system. What you see is what you get. But I'm very protective of all of our personal lives. I don't discuss any of that. So you get some real weirdos online, and yeah. So the messages I get, you should see them. It's funny. Okay. Is it bad to try and distract a toddler with something else while they're having a tantrum? That's one of my 3 least liked or hated, most hated discipline methods, because you never distract with broccoli. You're always distracting with something fun, and it's treated as a reward. Tantrums need to be ignored unless they are 16 months potentially or under. If they're really having a full-blown tantrum, I would probably go off on the couch and start reading their book out loud. Reading one of their books out loud. Don't look at them, don't talk to them. Eventually, they might learn to crawl up into your lap, and next thing you know, you're reading to them, and they've calmed down. So that's the only kind of distraction I would use. I wouldn't go, here's some candy, here's some, you see, I just don't do that. Here's this. You don't want to interrupt a tantrum. You want you want them to learn. You can't self-regulate someone else's brain. You can't go in there, open it up, and self-regulate. It's ridiculous. So they have to learn to do that themselves, and they'll only do that if you stop interrupting tantrums. You have to let a tantrum play itself out, okay? Let them play it out. If you interrupt it, you're messing up. You're messing it all up. You're messing up the whole process. If I wanted to book coaching, how many sessions would be best for kids? One's a newborn. For 4 kids. Okay, 5's always best because my course is 5 weeks to get respect. If you can't manage that, then 3. 1 is sort of, sometimes people hire me because they take me out for a test drive, right? Then they usually go up to 3 or 5. But I suggest 3. Start there. We can always upgrade you to 5 if you want it. A lot of people come back time after time. I always say I'm on a retainer with a whole bunch of people because every few months we need to talk again. Something will just come up they have a question about. Kids might start asking about sex or something. What do we do about that? We got a teenager who's didn't come home last night. What do we do about that? So they say they like to have me in their back pocket. So, but yeah, 3 sessions is a good place to start. Okay. Okay, perspective of someone who has similar issue. Okay, perspective. Someone, I don't know what you mean by that. What happens if a tantrum happens in a store? If it's a loud store and it's not interrupting the whole store, I let it play out wherever I am. If you're in a restaurant, like I would never do that in a restaurant. I would take them out to the parking lot. Then I'd just let them have that out there. And then I'd start filing my nails out in the parking lot or take them in the car somewhere, but you still let them play it out. If you interrupt a tantrum, you're interrupting this really important process of their brain to learn how to pull themselves out of it. You're going to slow it down. If you keep interrupting tantrums, you're slowing it. You're slowing the whole process down. You're interrupting this really important brain development. Oh, you're going to hate my answer. My 6-year-old boy doesn't focus on studies. He's only 6. How can I tell him the importance of studies? You don't. He's not going to listen to you. You just say, you got to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. As soon as homework's done, then you can watch TV or do something. That's all. I use the as soon as method. Can I watch TV? Sure, as soon as you've done your homework or have a set time for homework. Don't lecture. He's not going to listen to you anyway. The importance of studies. He's 6. Yeah, just you got to do what you need to do to, like my kids used to, most kids say this. I'm learning so much stuff in school I know I'm never going to need. I say, yeah, school is about teaching you self-discipline and how to learn. You'll probably never use anything you're learning in school. Everything I'm teaching you're going to use, like all the practical stuff, how to manage money, how to social, like how to handle relationships. You're going to learn that through me more than anyone, more than anything. The other stuff is teaching you how to get along with other people that you don't necessarily even like. It teaches you like other skills, but yeah. But my kids, I have no memory of ever telling my kids to go to bed or do homework. I have no memory of it. They just did it all themselves because they knew there would never be any TV. They just learned, they got into self-disciplining habits because they knew, you know, you got to do what you need to do before you can do what you want to do. That's self-discipline. They learned that from a really young age. So I don't know if they did it because they thought it was important. It's just, you got to do it, right? Oh, good one. Okay, I need advice on getting my daughter. She's 2.5 into the car. We used to laugh at that, my friends and I. We used to do the karate chop. You know, when they like arch like that and you can't get them in, hold them in the tummy and then just stand there waiting, waiting, waiting. As soon as they take a breath, karate chop. That's what we used to call it. You're just pushing them down, snap, snap, they're in. So yeah, don't talk about it. Don't, just wait it out. They'll learn that you know what you're doing. They just do. Like my kids didn't fight. They used to fight their dad more. He would be more likely to give it a try and talk to them about it, and it would just go on forever. It was when they saw mom storming towards the car, they'd just sit because they knew when mom says something, it's going to happen. Like there was no way. And I didn't even discuss anything. It was just going to happen. So yeah, they will learn that eventually. It's just a stage. Years ago, well, obviously my son's 33 now. He was probably 1.5 or 2. And I could not get him in that shopping cart. Like it was just awful, trying to pull a leg down, another leg down. I'm doing it rough, but obviously I wasn't snapping his femur. But anyway, I'm trying to get his legs in. He was screaming. And this woman came by and says, oh, just let him walk beside the cart. And I'm going, you idiot. You didn't know what she was talking about. He only did that once and he never argued with me again. He always got in that shopping cart because I always had a goodie bag too. He never got that goodie bag anywhere else except when he was sitting in that grocery cart. It's the only time he ever saw it. It was different every day, and it had toys in there. It had a goodie, like treats. It had something to drink. But yeah, once you show them that it's going to happen, you're getting in that car seat. You're getting in that shopping cart. If you give in and show fear, they're going to go in for the jugular. So yeah, I never showed fear. So I have to have a drink again. You're a genius. That's really cute. Actually, I think I'm really quite stupid. I can tell my brain doesn't process as fast as it used to. I used to be really quick. And like, I was always the one, you know how people say, oh, I wish I'd said that. I always said it like in the moment. I used to be really quick. Now I'm like I just am really slow, but I'm just old and experienced. You just learn so much when you get older. That's that wisdom kicks in. I think wisdom is because we're losing so many brain cells as we get older. Actually, I'm going to tell you a funny story. I've always been really quick thinker. And in high school, there was a team that came down from the university and they were doing a study on kids who were doing well in school. And I was one of the people in the study. And they studied me, and that was a 3-hour test, and I finished it in 20 minutes. It was this huge test asking us all these problem-solving things. And I did it in 20 minutes. They'd never seen anything like it. They said that was the fastest we've ever seen anyone do it. So I said, well, I only know what I know. I don't sit and think. Like I know what I know and I just write it down. That's it. Anyway, this was hilarious. Believe me, I'm not bragging here. This was hilarious. So I said to the team, they said, you're the fastest thinker we've ever seen. And I said, oh, I didn't know I was that smart. And they said, we didn't say you're smart. We just said you're fast. So I told this story so many times over the decades that I'm stupid, but I'm fast. Love that one. I'm stupid, but I'm fast. I thought that was really funny. My son is very quick, and he's also smart. But yeah, I'm really stupid, though, evidently. I always thought bribing kids will lead them to be dependent on those things. Not necessarily, but I don't like bribing kids. I like incentive. Like if my kids would never have said, can we watch TV unless they knew they'd done their chores, they'd done their homework. They never asked me anything if they knew the answer was no. And they always knew. That was 100% predictable because I was consistent. And, but if I did change the rules, I changed them. Like if we were all watching a movie and it was like too late and all that or whatever, I'd say, hey, just stay up later because I want you to watch the rest of the show with me. So but I was in charge of changing the rules when they were little. Didn't really have a lot of rules though. It was just sort of easy. How long would you leave a 3-year-old to try and nap before going and getting them? My kids stopped napping at 12 months old, so maybe they just don't need naps anymore. Even though they fall asleep and they might get cranky, they'll get used to not having them. They'll sleep longer at night so that they won't get cranky during the day. My kids were both 12 months old when they stopped having regular naps. They had a lot of accidental naps, but this stuff, they just didn't have them. When they hit preschool or kindy in Brisbane, where we were from, kindy started at 3, preschool at 4, and grade 1 at 5. Okay, so in kindy they were 3 years old, and the rule was all the kids had a nap. Well, my kids wouldn't sleep, so they'd just lay there in the dark looking up at the ceiling because they were really well-behaved, polite children. So they just lay there, and the teacher said, well, and I said, well, you know, if they just had a book and you could put them near a window, they will lay there and read. And they said, well, we can't let because all the kids will want to do that. And then eventually they did. They felt sorry because my kids were so polite. They just lay there and look at the ceiling. They never napped. And also they'd wait till all the other kids were asleep before they gave my kids the book. But I never asked them for special treatment. I don't do that. You know, you fit in. That's school. But yeah, the teachers felt sorry for them. So yeah, maybe your kid just doesn't need a nap. You might need the nap. What I used to do is I'd have quiet times with my kids. I'd say, okay, just go off and read a book. I'm going to get some stuff done, or I just want to write to my mom because my mom lived in Canada. I lived in Australia, so I wrote to her every single day. She heard more from me when I was over there than ever before. Anyway, I just wrote everything we did. So that we had quiet times, but my son is 6 and still naps, and he's amazed. Yeah, some of them do. Some of us need more sleep than others, and you know, we all are different. We're all wired differently with that. Yeah, you need them. Yeah, that's why I would just have quiet. My mom used to say to me, like, just scram, mom. You know, I need some time. Go scram, and okay. No, I didn't care. And I said that to my kids. Off you go. Mom needs some quiet time. Off you go, and they just go and do something. So. But also, one thing I don't like, and I know this is kind of controversial, and it's not a black and white issue, it's just my opinion. I don't like playrooms. I just don't like them. Their kids are way in a playroom. I want my kids around me. If I was in the kitchen, I wanted them right there where I could see them. Like, I like my kids with me all the time. So I didn't want them in a playroom. Whenever someone built a big playroom, I used to think, I would hate that. Like, I would just hate it. I wanted my kids with me. So, but yeah, I didn't want it personally, but it's not like I'm saying you shouldn't do that. But I think you connect more with your kids if you're around them when they're playing all the time. I wanted to see what they were doing. I wanted to know what they were thinking and doing. I wanted to observe them while they were playing. Okay. Oh, you lost me there. Yeah, the playroom. So some parents, I know some families, they actually put a half door there. So they'd lock the kids in. They'd have the top, you know, those old doors. We had one, and our back door was one of those half doors. I don't think they make them anymore, but they had that made. And they'd lock their kids in the playroom. And the top door was open so they could sort of hear the kids playing. I thought that was hilarious. So yeah, a lot of my clients have playrooms. And I just say it was my personal choice I didn't want one. It's funny. That's a gray area. That's not a black and white issue at all. Okay. My oldest is 7. This is Kara, and is the hardest of all my kids. So easily angered and attitude. We don't even watch TV. So what? Well, I don't know. I'd have to figure that out. There's always something. There's always something. I have never yet not been able to come up with leverage. I had one client, or I think it was this year, that it was hard coming up with leverage. This kid seemingly didn't care about anything. So we invented leverage. I actually have not a course on that. I actually have a video on here on that called Inventing, or it's what do you do if they don't care about anything, or something like that. But yeah, we invented leverage, and it was tricky. We had to try a few different things. But an example, this is an overblown example of it, okay? This is how you invent leverage with a kid who has no media, doesn't care about TV or screens, and doesn't care about anything. You take anything away and they don't care. So nothing's working with consequences. So we invent leverage. Say something like this. On a Monday, you say, I'll tell you what, if you live near Disneyland, right? You live in wherever that is. So Usually I know the name of that city. Where is Disneyland? Anyway, I always want to say Oklahoma. It's not. Anyway, that's going to drive me nuts now. Where is Disneyland? What city is it in? And usually it just comes off my tongue. I just forgot. Oh, doesn't matter. Yeah, it's California. But what city? Or no, not Orlando. The one in LA. LA, yeah, California. Is that? Anaheim, yeah. It's not Oklahoma, Anaheim. I knew it started with a vowel. Sorry about that. Anyway, so you say to the kids, let's say Monday, by the way, we're going to Disneyland this week. Don't say any more about anything. So you're going to Disneyland, and if you have a really bad week with the kids and they're just awful, or you got this one kid that's just been awful all week, you just say, I'll tell you what, I didn't like what you did. We'll discuss it on Saturday, okay? We'll discuss it on the weekend. Just say on the weekend, whatever. So then the weekend comes along and you say Saturday morning, the kid's getting ready for Disneyland. And hear me out, this is a tricky one, especially if you've got more than one kid. So this kid's all excited, or you can just do it, no, I can't get too complicated. It's an individual thing with each family. It's different with every single family. So that's why I'm going off in a million different directions. Saturday comes along, you've had a horrible week with the kids. They've just been rotten all week. You say, remember you did this and that, mention 2 or 3 things that they did wrong and say, because of that, we're not going to go to Disneyland today, okay? And say, we'll go next week if we have a better week. Do not say if you're good. Say, if we have a better week, we'll go next week. So you were never going to go to Disneyland. You're going to have to eventually go there, but you are postponing it until you have a good week with them. That's how you invent leverage. It can be a day-to-day leverage too. It can be something every single day you're going to do with them. You invent it. Say, oh, we're going to go out for ice cream tonight. And then you have a bad day. Say, oh, sorry, we can't go out for ice cream today. Because we had a really bad day today, didn't we? Remember you did this and you did that. I'll tell you what, we'll go tomorrow night if we have a better day. I don't like that method. It's inventing leverage. It's weaker, but it's what we have to resort to sometimes. But it's inventing leverage. Is it a tease? Is it nasty? Yeah, it can be construed that way. But this is a kid who doesn't care about anything. And you're setting yourself up as a leader. You got to go in tougher, okay? I don't like it, but... Is it bad when spouses have different parenting methods? No, I actually think it's nice because I think they only need one leader and the other parent defers to that one leader. So like my parents were, my mom was the leader, my dad was the pleaser parent. I got away with murder with my dad. But if I asked him something and then he'd say, I'm going to go check with your mom, and I'd say, never mind. So they were on the same page, basically. So you have to be on the same page, but they only need one leader. The thing is that you can't be fighting over which method is better. And also what I say to parents is when they first hire me and one parent doesn't want to do it, and you can always tell which one. One's sitting forward, the other one's like this. I'm like, gee, I wonder which one wanted to hire me. Anyway, so I say, okay, you just defer. And I don't always pick the leader that you might think that I would pick. Sometimes I'll pick this parent to be the leader just because I pick the one I think I can get the best results with, and I have to sort of talk to them for a few minutes to figure that out. And then I'll say, oh, you're the leader, you defer to the leader, okay, and this is what I want you to do in week 1. So that's how we manage it. But what you do is if you're fighting over styles, you say, we're going to flip a coin. We're going to do it my way for 3 weeks. If it works, we're going to continue. If not, we go and we resort to your way. And that's what I tell parents I'm working with. I say, just when you start to see the results, you'll both get on board with it. But if neither one of you really know what you're doing, flip a coin, pick the 3 weeks, and say we're going to try it for 3 weeks. Usually takes 3 weeks to start to see results anyway. Okay, I got to get going. I've been on here for over an hour now, and my voice is starting to go. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'll be back again tomorrow. All my stuff is up above. You can hire me, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. That's all in the link above. Or if you're on YouTube, that is in the description. Anyway, we'll talk again tomorrow. Bye now.